Our Adrian Wojnarowski reported that Ben Simmons would not report to training camp with the Philadelphia 76ers. That was, of course, following their loss to the Hawks in the Eastern Conference semis. But since then, we haven't really heard much from Ben about the actual fallout that he had with the franchise. So our friend, JJ Redick, asked him why he decided to even return to practice after requesting out of Philadelphia. Take a listen.
I was trying to do the right thing, at least, like do right by, whatever the team, my teammates, whatever, whoever it is, but trying to do the right thing. And I just was not in that place to play. Like I wasn't, I just couldn't do it. And I, getting kicked out of that practice that day, I actually spoke to Duck before practice. I was like, Doc, I'm not ready. Like, mentally, I'm not ready. Please just understand that. I tried to let him know prior. And he's like, well, I'm going to put you in anyway. I'm like, all right. Told me to get in. I was like, I looked at him like, it was like 1 minute into practice. Like, man, get in. I'm like, first of all, no one's doing that. You're doing this on purpose. And that's how I felt too. I was like, okay, so it seems like everyone's just trying to, like I'm getting fined for like not lifting weights, but physically I'm like one of the strongest guys on the team. So I'm like, now they're finding me for little things. And it was just a buildup of, obviously I didn't handle things the right way, but also the team didn't either.
I'm back here with Zach, Jalen, and Richard. That's really interesting. He said that he didn't feel like he was mentally ready to be there, and yet here he was, thrown into the fire. What do you make of that, Jalen?
Well, the relationship between Ben and the Sixers truly ended when they lost to the Hawks. If you look back at the last handful of years in the East, all of the top players have gotten a chance to at least make it to the NBA Finals, except Joel Embiid and the Sixers, who've added Daryl Morey, Doc Rivers to go with that guy Ben Simmons since then. And so when he doesn't perform for them, that now puts them in position for James Harden. When James Harden quits on the Nets, they trade him for Ben Simmons. I ask, how did Ben Simmons pass a physical? He didn't play a game for the Nets, Zach Lowe, but he had back surgery. So now as you graduate the story, to me, if he's healthy, the main thing that's going to be different basketball-wise is he ain't going to have to be the lead guard at the top of the floor, not attempting jump shots. He's going to be on the baseline in the dunker spot. He's going to be a screener. And instead of being the second best player on the contending team, he's going to be the third best player.
Which is where he needs to be.
And I think that's exactly where he should be.
Well, he did mention on the podcast that he hurt himself on the stairs, right? That's what he said in the podcast. But go ahead, Richard.
Well, thanks for the lob there.
I do. I throw it up.
Dunk the lob. Don't pass it off.
Don't pass it off. But this is my thing about it. And I'm glad that he got an opportunity to speak and admit that, like, hey, there were things that I could have done better. You know what we won't hear that from? The Philadelphia organization. We won't hear that from the 76ers. And I don't think there's a person up here or even anybody with a halfway intelligent brain that doesn't think the 76ers could have handled this better. We're going to force you to show up. I'm going to meet with the coach and say, hey, look, mentally and emotionally, I'm not ready. That's fine. I'm going to put you out there. And then, like, 2 minutes into practice, Jalen, you're the first team guy, but first team guys typically are just like, I'll get out there when I get out there because I'm going to play 82 games and I'm going to have to play 40 minutes a night. You're not telling me to get into practice. So they're actually just trying to egg him on. They're pushing him. They're pushing buttons. And so I respect Ben Simmons for saying there were things that I could have done better. And I wish the Philadelphia organization would also say, like, hey, in respects to Ben Simmons, we tried our best. We tried different things. There are things that we wish we could have done better in this situation. But I don't think we're going to hear that from them.
I don't think we will either. I think what's past is past for them. Yeah. They've moved on. I will say it's very clear from both that segment and the rest of the podcast on JJ's podcast. He felt betrayed the moment that Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid spoke after that Hawks game about what went wrong in that game. And it was unrecoverable almost from there. And then he talks about how, well, nobody visited me in LA that summer, and then they tried to come out the last minute. It was over, I think, for him then and unrecoverable. I will say, though, he does at some point say, there are things I could have done better. I don't really remember what those were from the podcast because I did also hear like a lot of deflection, particularly when he talks about that play. He kind of minimizes it as well. There's only one play and goes through. It was a
whole series towards the end of that series.
Well, and that's what was minimized to me is there was no talk about how he was afraid to get fouled. There's no talk about how he shot 34% from the free throw line in those playoffs and what that did to him. And I thought I would like to have heard a little bit more about his mental state in that regard, because, look, I don't care if you're playing with Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. If you're afraid to get fouled and you live around the rim, that's a problem. Right. And that's what I'm most curious to see, more than the threes, more than the jump shots that everyone harps on about. That's what I want to see, and I didn't hear much about that.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.